and really shut out the enemy jungler at any given moment. My issue is with targeting out this jungle pool from River. It trims Enzo down to being what is essentially a glorified Trundle one-trick, and we've seen how well that champion has worked out for him and the rest of Berjaya Dragons so far.
Alright, we do see though it is going to be the Syndra ban away from Tank. He's been picking that up in the last couple of games, as well as that volley there and Graves being banned out away from Enzo. So just trying to go and target towards some of the champ pool that we have seen Enzo be more of a playmaker on outside of that Trundle pickup like you mentioned. Bard though going to be banned out here from Kaiwing, who's had stellar performances on the champion in the most recent weeks.
Ashe and Ezreal notably both open right now, but the Bard ban out is not only a good pick to take away from Kaiwing, but also it allows for the Tahm Kench, the Braum, the more utility-centric, range-constrained supports that Delulu has found his relatively limited but still significant success on.
So we do see here though, Ashe is going to be that priority like you mentioned. Going to go ahead and lock that in for K2. And now for PSG, they kind of have to pick up the litter for what they want to go ahead when it comes to, say, the jungle. Do you want to try and get Tank on possibly his Twisted Fate like we've seen a couple times, and that does appear to be the case.
Yeah, Tank picking a name for himself as soon as he entered the region with that signature TF. Takes over the map, does his thing, and well, speaking of signature picks, there is one with an even more devastating reputation in the PCS.
Yeah, Kaiwing likes to write his death sentences pretty heavily with this Thresh pickup, and we've seen plenty of those flash hooks come out from him, as well as having the playmaking potential with that Lantern to keep his carry safe in the form of a Unified. And now for Berjaya Dragons, usually when this is picked up, post level 2.
No!
Oh no. I was about to say post level 2 for the bot lane of PSG. It's scary. Early levels there's a chance, but speaking of scary, it's Enzo on the Trundle and it's not for the right reason.
Yeah, you think this win rate, 55.3%, isn't actually that bad, and then you realize that Enzo individually has like a 12% win rate on it, and that is never a good look, especially on something as easily executed as the Trundle. It relegates your jungler to being not on a playmaking champion as well, and that means we're gonna have to see Delulu whack out the Nautilus, whack out the Blitzcrank, and just kind of put himself in what has seemed to be a very uncomfortable position for the side of Berjaya if they are going to find any kind of engage or playmaking response.
And with that, that's going to be the Sylas pickup for now on. Like you mentioned, going to have the ability to steal away some of the ultimates, and there is one player still outside of Wako that loves that Aphelios, similar to what Weilun. It has been always Unified on the champion. He has a devastating win rate on it when it comes to, I think, 85, almost 90% on the champion over the course of the two splits, alongside Kaiwing's Thresh. Absolutely devastating.
Yeah, Aphelios Thresh still a very potent lane, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sold on it because Ashe can just poke you down from a distance, essentially force you to not play lane phase, and yeah, while you do scale remarkably well alongside your APTF in the mid lane, it does mean that we'll probably see PSG default to more of that let's sit back, scale up, farm up kind of composition for the first 15 minutes that we have used as a detriment time and time again. We've said this is our biggest criticism of the Spring Champions, is that they take one hell of a long time to actually come online.
And historically, that was what Berjaya were well known for back in spring, was their debut game as an organization. They were going for tower dives left and right, and now it kind of just gets a little upsetting when we don't get to see some of that aggression, especially when we saw them just earlier go up against Liab and weren't able to transition that anywhere. Interesting here that River has actually, instead of falling back onto the Rex side that we have criticized them for, opting to go for the Jarvan for the first time in summer.
So the J4, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. Yes, he does set up pretty nicely alongside the box, etc. for the Aphelios later on. But the thing about him is that he's not got a very good individual matchup against the Trundle. If you can level 2 gank bot lane because Ashe really wants to shove to get Hawkshot as soon as possible, maybe then you can get Unified and Kaiwing off to a good start. But otherwise, River, renowned for his early game proactivity and aggressive jungling, is relegated to a more utility role, and PSG again just drafting a really quiet, scaling early game comp.
We do see here. Final lock-in. Instead of seeing that Nautilus that we're saying hyper-aggression, well, he's fallen back onto what you were hoping to maybe see, that Braum getting locked in for Talon.
Yeah, this is really successful for him as an individual, but it also does mean that we don't see any real engage besides a stray Ash Arrow or a stolen Cataclysm coming through from the side of Berjaya. I really dislike this because it means they're going to have a slow early game. It means they're going to have a slow scaling game.
Ooh.
This is not the Quinn, but it is another top lane AD carry.
All right, Hanabi, that's aggressive. That is not what I expected, but it is going to be the Vayne getting locked in up against the Mordekaiser. And, well, to be fair, last time we saw Hanabi on an AD carry, it was on the Quinn. It wasn't perfect. Now, though, this is a bit of a toss-up. A lot of just this top side from PSG. First time we are seeing it in the PCS.
Yeah, take me into the Death Realm with you, and I will smoothly 1v1 you down, is what Hanabi is saying. That being said, Vayne, gank magnet, Hanabi is a player, gank magnet, and therefore I think this PSG topside's early days are gonna be short-lived. That being said, they have a nice team fight if they can get there. They have side lane threats in TF and Vayne, and Berjaya, they need to open up the map and let Ashe plus Trundle find picks with the pillar and the arrow, otherwise they will just find themselves rolling over come the 5v5s.
Well, we'll see whether or not PSG Talon's interesting draft composition is actually going to work out, or is it a setup here for Berjaya to take home the upset and lock in that final slot when it comes into playoffs as we load onto the Rift for our final game of the night.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And Liab fans, if they're still watching, which again, this is a very important match for them, if Berjaya are able to find one victory either today or tomorrow, they knock Liab out of contention. I've also gotten word that, management over from the Nova squad is also very interested in this game, and they're all maybe a little frightened to see that PSG is experimenting with their draft for their final week of play, but still a lot on the line for both of these squads.
Yeah, really hoping that PSG, with this kooky top lane Vayne pick, tumble forward, trip over themselves, and drop the game here against Berjaya. That being said, though, if you're a Liab fan, you're like, all right, PSG, just close it out. We know you're styling at this point, but we know you can go untouched and get this mid to late game win condition.
Well, you say kooky, I say quirky, all right? Hanabi likes to be a little bit different when he's given the opportunity. Now we'll see how well he does here on that Vayne pickup. Actually started call, so he's likely just going to try and do what he can to farm away. We'll see whether or not Enzo makes an appearance early on toward that top side of the map.
Definitely do need to see what this Trundle can do, if he can have more success this time around than he had in the past. And now looking at the Conqueror for the J4, by the way, we have a solid amount of dueling potential between the mid-jungle 2v2 this game, and I am eager to see how that pans out. But look at the bot lane, this is really good, this is what I wanted to see. Push hard, get control of that tier 1 bush on the Braum, and the Thresh can't move up. Get early level 2 on the Ashe, and you find the enemy jungler. I said the Vayne was a gank magnet, by the way, and, well...
Oh, he said it was going to be, and it's also Hanabi. You should know by now that Hanabi, First Blood, he has been caught out numerous amount of times when he pushes hard early, and, well, that Vayne is going to draw an even bigger target onto his back, as that will be his flash being blown early.
Yeah, pretty crucial that we see that one taken out early, but it does mean that Enzo needs to make a return gank if they're going to capitalize on it. Silas has a lot of issues actually leaving lane against the TF, especially before the first recall, and, well, actually one jungler gank top, so why don't we see the other now?
Well, River, with that Jarvan, could try and make an impact himself, as both top laners may be receiving help from the jungle, but appears River not going to be waiting around, as Hanabi is trying to get a little bit of that push in on top lane, so not going to see any more action, but we'll see a little bit of an invade, maybe some vision put down by River.
Yeah, the Mordekaiser, of course, does become a lot less of an appealing gank target once he's past level 6, but here's a gank target in the mid lane. The bot lane is here.
Bot lanes came over to party, and that is a very aggressive Berjaya Dragons. That's going to be the gold card. Over the wall comes Delulu to also add in the exhaust, and first blood goes in favor of Berjaya.
Actually, good early aggression coming through from Berjaya there. Surprising. They get shoved bot, they rotate up with it immediately, and tank. They pick off the newest member of this PSG squad, isolating the immobile TF, and just fully collapsing here to get Mawon off to one of the most fantastic starts we've seen from him all split long.
And that is aggression that I don't think we were necessarily expecting, but Delulu's back in the house. He's not afraid to flash over the wall as a Braum level 2 to lay down that quick and easy exhaust as Hanabi was getting Ozzy into kill range, was trying to lure him back, but unfortunately River won't be able to help much here as Enzo also going to peek around the corner. Going to see what they can do. They don't know that the Jarvan's nearby. Hanabi gets himself back over to safety. That means the Vayne will survive once again.
Yeah, actually good read from the side of PSG to hold River there just in case the Trundle did come. And now, honestly, I'm still buzzing after that bot lane roam up at 3 minutes into the game. Delulu, you can take him off of his historically pretty poor playmakers, and yet he'll still make the plays on Braum of all things.
Now, to be fair, the play was him flashing over the wall to just get the exhaust down, not necessarily a most mechanical execution, but the spirit is there, and he is still roaming into the river to see whether or not River himself is looking to try and get the scuttle.
And with the Ashe in your comp as your primary form of engage, you need to be making these proactive early game plays. Secure the Herald as soon as possible, and then use it to crack open mid lane tier 1. That opens up the map for you, it opens up options for you to fish for picks more aggressively with that enchanted crystal arrow, and it means Berjaya, even if their engage is kind of poor, they still have a lot going for them at the end of the day.
So we'll see now whether or not they're going to be able to execute toward that themselves. I guess our question is, is Hanabi going to be able to survive this lane phase without being consistently dove upon? We have seen Enzo at least make his way up toward the top side of the map twice. Even Hanabi on his first back, just getting some boots for some extra safety and move speed themselves. And looking quite fine.
Yeah, the Vayne, of course, in a really solid position when it comes to 1v1ing the Mord, whether it's now, whether it's later. Just zoning RZ off of the minion wave here because there's the consistent threat of the 1v1. That being said, River still shadowing topside, tank access to the Destiny as well. Does mean that any kind of 1v1 pre-Death Realm territory is going to actually be a 3v1, and Berjaya really don't want this.
Do you see, though, River looking to just try and mirror as Enzo's on the top side of the map himself. Hanabi is able to crash that in. At least we're seeing some restraint from the top lane here at PSG, because most of the time he'd be happy just trying to crash that wave harder, maybe pick up a plate. Meanwhile, mid lane, though, we are looking at a pincer maneuver being set up here between River and Kaiwing. This is usually a PSG special, but Tank pushes in the wave, so he can't really do much.
Yeah, just waiting for Mawon to pull the trigger on an aggressive abscond onto that TF. But with Tank resetting here, it does mean that we should see him use Fog of War, path a little differently, whether it's towards bot, whether it's towards top, and then get a good ult off without anyone from Berjaya being none the wiser.
Do you see, though, Berjaya themselves are going to be the ones to go ahead and start off the Dragon. As unfortunately PSG, they likely saw Enzo rotate over. Pings are going to come out. Mawon's already on the way over. And with that, PSG are also going to give up the first Drake of the game on over toward Berjaya. And we said early aggression, early playmaking coming out of this squad, used to net them wins back in spring. And we're kind of seeing the spirit of that here when they go up against the spring champions of PSG.
Yeah, solid amount of damage being dealt out already by the primary carries of this Berjaya squad, but as we said, we need to see them rotate up in order to secure an early Herald. Crack open the map, let K2 have pick of the litter when it comes to finding aggressive arrow pushes, and more importantly, break RZ out of the Vayne lane, because this is hell for the Mordekaiser right now, and will continue to get progressively worse the longer this goes on.
To be fair, though, the times we have seen Hanabi take something like an AD carry up toward the top side of the map, this isn't the worst CS difference for Ozzy at the very least. Only down about 2 waves, where last time that we saw it was a Quinn matchup, Hanabi was accelerating to about a 30 to 40 CS gap before 10 minutes.
I'm actually pretty upset we see such a high prio on Aphelios in this region still, despite Caitlyn being largely absent. Because globally, it feels like Caitlyn has completely replaced Aphelios in a lot of conventional marksman's pools.
See Ozzy, you decide to lane swap, as you do see Berjaya at least trying to set up for that Rip Turtle toward the top side of the map, but Kaiwing and Unified gonna have a tough time trying to dive him.
Yeah, just ult the Thresh if you feel a little bit threatened here. And come on, why are you hard committing for a Mordekaiser? He has Death Realm!
Well, that's also going to be the Destiny being popped here onto Ozzy. A gold card is going to land into the combo, and all right, if you can combo him before the Death Realm, that works out. But meanwhile, Rift Herald was taken, and Berjaya are going to pop that toward the top side of the map.
All right, I guess Caitlyn can't do that, says Unified, as he pops a lot of damage out immediately. The CC came down, flag and drag, hook, gold card, and the damage came down to knock Ozzy into the graveyard before he can even respond with a Death Realm. Funnel gold onto the Ashe, beautiful. Issue is, cracking open tier 1 top, a lot less impactful for the map movements that this team wants to make than having secured the mid lane tier 1.
So that first turret gold does go on over at the very least to K2, which is going to net that Ashe a little bit of a boost of income. She was falling a little bit behind of Unified, but now going to be slightly ahead. And Shelly also going to get that second charge off toward the second tier tower.
Again though, top lane not necessarily the lane you even want to think about touching if you're Berjaya at this moment in time. Yes, it's a little bit more appealing once the second Herald does spawn, but for the moment, expect them to play through mid, expect them to play through bot, and expect top lane just to kind of be no man's land where they kind of send Ozzy to kind of poorly kind of farm. Sad, sad Mordekaiser.
Yeah, it's not fun Mordekaiser time. Though they've actually just thrown him top and said, all right, we'll do what they can. Meanwhile, bot lane, Hanabi is going to have to back off here pretty fast once he sees the Ashe come into lane. And there you go. Arrow being available for K2 and no support for Hanabi means he has to back off.
Still a very solid point in time for the Berjaya squad to pick a fight, largely because you have GLP completed for the Sylas, still got TF building towards his Roa, and the Infedge is a much less appealing single item spike relative to the Blade once that does come through.
And again, a reminder, this is of course Berjaya, which again we're able to play rather aggressive early. Unfortunately, PSG, they were looking to set up a trap. Not going to get away with it as that control ward was spotted out. And with that, Unified gets himself some turret plating, and they'll have to back off. But for Berjaya, again, a victory here locks them into playoffs. It means Liab cannot catch them in the standings. PSG, if they want to continue to have a shot toward the top seed, they need to take a victory here today and also tomorrow, as meanwhile, you saw, again, the same situation, not as clean coming out of PSG, but really want to go for this dive once again onto the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, you see Kaiwing just skirting in and around outside of range.
Tank, he's caught underneath. He's got to wait this one out. Kaiwing's going to be nearby. Lantern is there, gets himself back to safety, and Ozzy can't finish off the kill as he gets himself away. That was a messy dive, but it ends off paying out for PSG.
Incredibly close, but more importantly, Ozzy buys so much time for the rest of Berjaya to push in mid, push in bot, and get gold back onto the Ashe, onto the Sylas, and into a good position. PSG bullying this Mordekaiser, layer their CC inefficiently, and in the end, Ozzy almost turns this into a hero play, does about as well as he could have, and I'm genuinely surprised that the Death Realm had such a low range for tank here.
Yeah, I'm actually, because I thought they weren't actually supposed to be that close, but unfortunately, stuck up against the wall, and Ozzy just a little bit to the side. Meanwhile, though, top lane's going to get pushed in. That's also a teleport coming out from Tank. And Ozzy, he can't catch a break at this point. Flash forward coming out from Unified. Getting some damage. Shield was there, but he will not last long unless Unified... Oh no! Ozzy able to find the kill as Unified goes a little bit too deep without the Moonlight visual. River comes back on over. He says, I want to at least take that kill for taking down my AD carry. And they continue the push here on top.
Alright, Ozzy is being bullied, but he is going down, literally swinging. The mace comes down. Unified is taken out, and the Berjaya top is receiving so much attention from the enemy team this time. I feel for him, and he's thriving in that attention.
Well, that's the thing. What can PSG do elsewhere? Again, you're playing around a Vayne that Hanabi picked up, which, again, we have yet to see whether or not this is going to pay off come later, as Ozzy, at least getting a kill, is able to get a decent shutdown, as Unified, he's just going. This is just too greedy from Unified.
Maybe if he was Caitlyn, he could have pressed ace in the hole, and that would have been a much cleaner execution. But yeah, flashing forward no mana, never really a good idea. Mordekaiser, surprisingly tanky, deceptively so in fact. Look at this tank build, no AP in sight. Ninja Tabi, Bramble Vest, Kindle Gem, Doron Shield. It's an Ornn. It's an Ornn in a big metal suit.
It's an Ornn in a big metal suit. Oh boy. All right, PSG. Instead of this time,
dive the other solo laner.
The other solo laner that you can try and dive as Enzo. Ooh, Kaiwing was fishing for a hook, only gets himself a Krug instead. As PSG were looking for a dive here, that gives Malon enough knowledge, though, to probably back off himself, as it looks like K2 and Delulu at least trying to get a push here in mid.
Yeah, now just looking for Berjaya to continue to get some good CS back onto the Mord, have him farm his way back into this game. Haven't seen too much from the Sylas or the Ashe so far. Could see something happen here, though.
Tank, another Destiny being popped here. I'll give it to him. He's been all over the map. Again, though, this has been PSG getting rather really aggressive. And you kind of did mention PSG are kind of one of those teams that play a little bit slowly. And I don't know if they necessarily have to play fast here. But it's getting messy, to say the very least. They are able to take down the tower, though, on bot side.
Granted, 15 minutes is where we usually see PSG turn it on, but honestly, Berjaya are not in an awful position. They have the 2 Drakes secured. They got the first Herald. They should get the 4th Herald. 4 neutral objectives going by way of Berjaya Dragons against a contender for first place.
Now, to be fair, we still have to figure out the fact that PSG have drafted a Vayne top, and Hanabi O's getting caught out there himself. Shelly, though, going to be popped once again in toward this mid lane, and that should be the first tier tower and give a lot of pressure over to Berjaya in the midsection of the map.
Yeah, you needed to crack this one open so you could fish more aggressively with the Ashe, so that you could move around more aggressively with the Trundle, and honestly, getting that tier 1 down so crucial towards the Ashe comp, especially when she is the only form of real hard engage, short of a Trundle flash killer to the backline. Honestly, Berjaya in a very, very strong position now, because they've got the tier 1 down, they can use that to build a solid wave, push it out, and in 2 minutes time, use that mid lane pressure to go for the next Drake.
Do take a look in toward your items, though. It looks like Unified, he's gone to the school of Wei Lun, and has decided he, too, likes his cloaks, looking to rush in an extra little bit of crit chance for possibly, I guess, this 3rd dragon fight, because I think PSG, they've decided this is when they're going to try and make their stand once they've had their first set of items come online, more completed for Hanabi, as well as now Roa trying to stack up here for tank.
Yeah, definitely looking at this single item spike coming through from a lot of the champions here. GLP for the Sylas was completed like a year ago. They didn't really do much with it, and all this inactivity, all this kind of awkward dancing around each other is just time to ramp up stacks on that Rod of Ages for tank in the mid lane.
See Unified still looking to just get priority. Tank holding on to that gold card. Instead, though, they back off. A little bit early, though, for PSG to be setting up around the Drake. It's still a minute before it comes in, and maybe they just want to go ahead and take a fight themselves. They feel confident enough to try and force something here onto Berjaya. Crystal Arrow is up and available for K2 if he wants to pull the trigger to go for the engage, but still kind of both teams playing chicken, but the hook is going to connect onto Ozzy. Gold card popped there with Tank having Ghost available, but still both teams just dancing here in the river.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is. Just ARAM at this point, waiting for a skill shot to land.
There you go. Engage comes out from River. Has to go into stasis. Unified able to get a decent amount of damage. Gets exhausted immediately. Ozzy brings in Unified into the death realm. Meanwhile, though, Malon was able to get the kill. Hanabi gets caught out. That's a double kill on over to the Sylas. Tank now gets caught out. Has the stacks coming through from the Braum. Flashing on forward. It's Delulu. Lantern can't get him back to safety. And PSG lose 4 members in the mid lane.
Clean near ace for the side of Berjaya there. They get 4 members, they get mid tier 2, maybe an inhib tower to boot, and they get the Drake as well. Berjaya Dragons find their way into this. They say, all right, we don't have any engage tools, you miss yours, we're gonna go straight in there and punish you for it. And this Mordekaiser is my unsung hero of the game. Ozzy, you are a monster.
Again, gets onto that backline, forces Unified to get away from the fight. Sure, you take that 1v1, but he just isn't able to die. Is able to solo out that poor Aphelios before he really comes online. And questions now have to be raised when it comes to the draft of Big Fafa and the rest of the coaching staff of PSG. Is this really the game you want to experiment Vayne top when you need to win every game if you want that first seed and avoid playing that extra best of 3?
I mean, as well as that, you have Liab asking them questions like, guys? Well, yeah, that being said, really promising play coming through from Berjaya here, pushing it to Ocean Soul in 4 minutes time, having a good amount of pressure across the map now. Mid lane tier 1, I harped on and on about creating more space for the Ashe to move around the map freely. Mid lane tier 2, even more of that space, even more pick potential, and really hammering home that Berjaya have a lot of tools available to them, especially if Delulu can maintain his undefeated streak on this Braum pick.
And I don't blame our observers as they kind of look at Hanabi at the moment. Sure, he has himself a 60 CS lead, but we haven't seen him gain pressure elsewhere on the map. We haven't seen Berjaya Dragons be occupied with his presence elsewhere. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of when you're going on a split pusher like this Vayne.
Yeah, gonna be building towards that wit's end, just heavy emphasis on wanting to 1v1 the AP-centric solo laners of this Berjaya comp, and yet no one's matching him. They're like, alright, cool, shoving a wave, I'll catch it at the tower, we'll then rotate up. Berjaya, they have a lot going for them this game, and I'm pleasantly surprised because PSG are desperately trying to execute random 5v5s with a comp that would be much better suited for playing 1-3-1.
Well, again, though, this is still a PSG that has shown at times that maybe their early game can get a little bit shaky, and when they go up against some of these lower-seeded teams, they don't take enough of an advantage with that lead that they're able to get. You still look back here, Berjaya, they're only ahead by a couple hundred gold. The only thing that's in their favor overall is, of course, that 3 Drake stack, which could turn easily into an Ocean Soul if they're able to secure it. So PSG, their timer's ticking, but you do see second items now coming online for some of their members.
Yeah, Unified in particular, amassing a ton of gold. You saw him on that chart, just top of the table, quietly making a case for himself as being a very, very formidable mid-game threat. That being said, though, if Ozzy has anything to say about it, this Aphelios is not going to get to play the game. It is the revenge of a champion that was dove repeatedly in the early game. The rage of a top laner denied one too many cannon minions. Yeah, just really need to watch Unified and how he navigates the issue that is Mordekaiser.
And I have to say here, too, also, River, known for sometimes his early aggression. We didn't get to see that a whole lot early on, especially on something like a Jarvan that, you know, once level 6 rolls around, sure, we saw them camp Ozzy a couple times, but we didn't see anything else really happen, especially toward that bot side of the map where K2 was left to farm easily.
Hey, we saw him execute the Mordekaiser with the ultimate after his AD carry decided to die at the tier 2 top lane.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, honestly, Jarvan's the kind of champion where if your solo lanes aren't doing well, you look significantly worse. Because he's a tank, he's a gank-centric jungler, trying to gank players that are playing back anyway, so it's kind of rough. And yeah, honestly, it's very, very easy to look a little bit rough around the edges on these types of junglers. You'll see similar things with players that are still playing, for example, Trundle. Berjaya, though, quietly making a case for Enzo being actually a decent Trundle player this time, building towards his Zeeks. Wait. Oh man, Enzo. He already built the Aegis, but now he's building a second Aegis, even though he wants the Glacial Shroud so he can actually make the Zeeks.
Might be losing
Why would you do that?
Maybe he's losing out to Shopkeeper here. Enzo maybe a little bit hesitant. There comes that engage, though, immediately onto Kaiwing. Unfortunately, that Thresh has nowhere to run. River with the engage, a decent amount of damage, though, coming out from Unified. With that flamethrower, it pours in the damage. Konabi joined in onto the fight, popped the ultimate, ended up tumbling back into his team. Tank rejoins. And Berjaya, they're only able to take down the Thresh, but the health bar's a little bit low. And that could be a setup here for PSG, but River has to go back.
Yeah, fairly free pick there, but as you said, really weird timing on it because the Ocean Dragon Soul is live now. Kaiwing will take his time coming in though, and that's why Berjaya say, look, commit TP, we are here for this Drake.
There we go, Ocean Soul available to Berjaya, and it's going down fast. Unfortunately, River way too late to the party, and PSG, if they want to have any shot at picking up anything, they needed to clean up a fight right after, but that's not going to be the case. Ocean Soul in favor of Berjaya.
Berjaya Dragons really earning the S at the end of their name there, picking up 4 Drakes in the span of the first 22 or so minutes, and really hammering home that this team still has so much more to show before the end of PCS summer. Good engage with the Ash Arrow, about all you could ask for really, because it's the only engage they have. Braum ult to follow up, and what looked like a pretty tricky fight ended up with them not losing anyone. Sure, they only got 1 kill in response, but they get the Drake on top of it, and they are laughing all the way to the bank, even if Enzo has a pretty questionable way to the shopkeeper.
You did see there, though, unfortunately, if Delulu's not on the front line himself, trying to eat up that damage from the Aphelios, Unified has the potential to turn around some of these fights. And I'll be frank, we still have yet to see Hanabi actually make an impact anywhere on this map. I keep harping him because it's a bloody Vayne top. And we're still kind of waiting for him to actually do anything.
Yeah, the really weird thing for me was the fact we saw the Vayne grouping there and the TF was sat in the side lane. And yet, even though TF sat in the side lane, the tier 2 that got exposed, what, like 15 minutes ago, untouched. Still standing, full health, pretty much. What was the TF doing? What was Vayne doing? What were the 1-3-1? What were the 1 and the 1 of that 1-3-1 doing in that skirmish?
Some aggression coming out both in the voices here of the Talent team as well as Berjaya. As again, 7-3, PSG Talon. We're our spring champions. We're able to take down as well the BCS during the mid-season showdown. Summer, though, they have been rather inconsistent in some areas. This team often does shine during the best-of series come playoffs. But when it comes to early aggression like this, they can be caught on the back foot. And now we see Baron started for Berjaya.
Yeah, still got level 11 on the J4, so 1 level down relative to the Trundle. River, if he's going to make this steal, has to make the magic happen.
All right, Tank joins in. So does Hanabi. 4,000 health onto the Baron. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the case. River does have Flag and Drag combo to get himself over the wall. In comes the engage, though. Delulu on that front line goes golden. Unified, though, he is untouched during this fight, and Berjaya cannot step forward as Berjaya Dragons, unfortunately, start falling left and right. Death Sentence lands onto Ozzy. It's a double kill for Unified.
Enzo lives, but unless this Trundle finds a way to get into the pit without flash, this Baron is dead to rights. Double AD carry comp, one of them being Vayne with the percentage health true damage in the Silver Bolts, really does mean PSG should be able to claim this and shut Berjaya out.
Yeah, you saw, unfortunately, Enzo can't do anything to get into that pit, would have to walk in, and Baron secured. It was the long con the entire time here from PSG, now finding themselves up almost 4,000 gold with Baron in hand.
And Hanabi with that big target over his head in lane phase time and time again for PSG, just saying, look, gank me, gank me. This time around, giant target over him saying, look, focus the Vayne down, focus the Vayne down. Aphelios goes untouched, gets out a full combo even through the Braum shield and just runs rampant with it. Beautiful play from Unified, beautiful team fighting, but unfortunately, I can't give PSG too much credit because it's taken them 25 minutes to get to a point where they finally look comfortable.
And I'll even be fair there too. Malon, he had himself a Cataclysm for that fight, opted not to use it himself. There was the opportunity for Berjaya to turn it back, but because K2 fell so early during the fight, they decided to cut their losses, and that gives that small window of opportunity over to Berjaya Dragons. Also now Baron buff, going to time out right before the Elder Drake spawns, gives them some opportunity, some room to grow in front of that next fight.
Yeah, now looking at PSG as being in the driver's seat, but even with the Baron buff, they're hesitant to 1-3-1 because they said, look, how has split pushing worked out for us previously? Not all that well. Want to get in a big engage, want to get in a big hook, into a big Cataclysm, into a big Unified, just wiping the entire enemy team off of the face of the earth. And they recognize, hey, if we split up a little bit, if we get a little bit too antsy in our rotations, could be another arrow power pick.
And even if they do use an arrow to try and pick off Unified or even that Death Realm, take a look at his item. Picked up the QSS now, so he has safety when it comes to this Aphelios, on top of also having his own cleanse. 2 options.
And Mikhail's.
Yeah. Crucible there too. So he's got 3 cleanses, and even if you try and take him out, maybe you can lock him down, but still, all that being used for the Aphelios doesn't land on target. Kaiwing puts down the box. Destiny has been popped, but guess what? Tank's up in the top lane, taking that second tier tower.
Yeah, hard commitment there onto Unified, and it's good to see it, but unfortunately, not enough. Look at this attempted engage. Without the arrow, how do you chase? As the base starts to be broken open by PSG.
Now you're starting to see that threat, and Hanabi, he didn't have to do anything, it seems, here on the Vayne. This has been the most casual, let my team carry performance I've seen in the PCS in a long time. And a very quick back coming out from PSG. That's a 20-second Elder Drake spawn.
Yeah, Baron recall really, really valuable here, just getting them out of the base as soon as possible. Elder Dragon, the hot point of contention. Important to note is that Enzo has flashed now at least, so the Trundle does have a way into the pit, but at the same time, Berjaya, their setup for this is gonna have to be immaculate. You need to find an arrow, you need to find a pick, you need to start the fight off with a numbers advantage unless you find yourself picked apart again.
And for me too, Berjaya, they were actually so hesitant to go into the river themselves off that PSG back, that PSG got a free back, and Berjaya didn't actually get any ward coverage into the Dragon Pit. PSG are able to regain control of the river without using any effort.
Yeah, the issue is they weren't entirely sure if PSG had fully committed to a recall there, and yeah, Berjaya just playing it uncharacteristically safely here. I think that will be their detriment, because even if they have their Ocean Soul, they're still not looking for the clinching fight.
See, gold card comes out there from Tank. Unified wants to start setting up for this Elder. 2 turrets brought down into that Pixel Brush. Now 8,000 health onto the Elder. Gets reset, but you see Tank on that side looking for a possible flank himself. Gold card in hand. Berjaya, when do they pull the trigger? When do they say no to this PSG? There's your call. Arrow comes through, lands onto Kaiwing. Not the target you're looking for. A reset back onto the Elder. Now focus back toward Berjaya Dragons. Mawon does have a Destiny ultimate in his back pocket. He wants to jump in onto that back line. 50-50 now. Destiny popped by Mawon. Re-engage comes out. Ozzy onto the back line. Brings out the Death Realm onto River. But still, Berjaya are not pulling the trigger to burst down the Dragon. Death Realm has been used. Mordekaiser ult is down. And it's just another reset.
And the stolen Destiny there was just weird, honestly, because it's the one ultimate that gives you nothing in this team fight, which is still ongoing, by the way.
And they keep dancing around that. You saw Tank was actually rotating down toward the bot side of the map, and both teams call it quits, even though PSG can see them backing on wards.
All right, Opal, time to breathe. Another reset from both of these teams. After one heck of an Elder Dragon dance. No Baron dance, just a straight up waltz at the Dragon Pit here. Would have been game if Berjaya had got it. Would have probably been game if PSG had got it. And instead, credit to Berjaya. They're making the 1-3-1 comp fight them tooth and nail 5v5 at every neutral objective so far.
It kind of drives me crazy that no one ended up dying during that fight at any point. And we also have an Elder Drake that was down to, what, around 3,000 health and wasn't finished. Both these teams showing a lot of patience, making sure not to screw up when it comes to the execution during these fights. But once again, here you go, PSG, we already mentioned they have themselves the ability to shred objectives with this Vayne, as well as the Aphelios. Tank is on the top side of the map, by the way. He just got a little bit of push up in that top lane, so that's going to start building up and look for a crash here within the next minute.
Yeah, much more fluid map movement coming through from PSG. Full vision control yet again. TF ult for full reveal for good measure, and this should be a PSG Dragon, but Berjaya are contesting.
And you saw it there, Ozzy almost getting chunked down completely. In comes the arrow, not going to land there onto River, and in comes the engage, a 3-man Cataclysm to lock him down. The shutdown going on over to Hanabi. Tank finds himself a kill, and in he goes once again with that Vayne. It's a double kill from the Condemn, and Tank, though he is into that 1v1, River will be able to get himself back to safety as Ozzy can't finish off the kill. Over the wall he goes. Tank finds himself a double, and now finishing off the last remaining member, it's Enzo forced to flash over the wall.
And Enzo in an increasingly difficult position there. He blast cones over the wall, but as soon as the Trundle's in the pit, PSG say, look, peel off of the Trundle, 5v4 engage into the backline, find the kills they need, find the play they need, and should find the game.
12 seconds here on Malon. Delulu is back up himself. PSG a little bit slow here on this push as multiple members will be back up. Instead, they're happy just taking that mid lane inhibitor. And then once again, Hanabi and the rest of the team can look to focus toward this Elder.
Yeah, no real way for the Trundle into the pit after having flashed defensively. And so, yes, he lived, but at what cost? Probably going to be the Elder Dragon. Probably going to be PSG with one more big recall before another Baron power play. Berjaya?
I don't think they're going to give him an opportunity as Berjaya. They're a bit late to the party. The Execute's going to come on in, and Ozzy gets taken out there by Hanabi's Dragon. And there you are, 2 more members, and the teleport coming out from the Vayne. Hanabi's looking for the base.
This Vayne with Elder, by the way, 1, 2, 3 tap, plus the passive of the Elder, really just going to one-shot whoever he touches. Hanabi on the push, PSG on the push, Berjaya!
Berjaya here, though, are looking for the defense. Still 20 seconds on their members in the form of Delulu and Ozzy. We will see whether or not they can hold this relentless push coming out from PSG as now Minion's going to get escorted. There you are. It's going to be the teleport from Tank to try and keep that Minion alive. Enzo into the front line, trying to do his best, but he gets executed once again, and the members shall fall. And like that, PSG, it may look shaky early on, but they're able to pull it back and take down Berjaya Dragons.
Liab, you are thanking your lucky stars right now. The dream is still alive off of the back of PSG showing up. It took them some time. It took them 25 entire minutes, and yet they did end up getting on the board.
That one again.
Berjaya made that so close.
Berjaya did. I don't know. I feel like PSG were the ones that made it closer, though, with the fact that decided to go for this draft and then try and camp a Mordekaiser, which again, it ended up getting a couple kills. But overall, I wouldn't say this was a clean game from PSG in any manner.
Yeah, no real engage threat, honestly, from the side of Berjaya to really punish the fact that PSG were attempting a 1-3-1. And if you're wondering why I'm sad again, it's because we lose yet again another 100% win rate support champ. Goodbye Delulu's Braum. But we keep 8-0 for Kaiwing's Thresh.
There you go.
That's all I care about, really.
You want champions with 100% win rate for like players that played it more than just a couple times, is what you're telling me.
Signature picks, baby, all the way down.
Oh my lord. With that though, PSG still in the running toward the top there for that first seed. If they are able to tie up with J-Team in any manner, they will automatically get a berth into a tiebreaker for the first seed. But let's go ahead though and take a look back at some of the fights.